The USS Lincoln is now sitting off the coast of Key West, and two other Navy carriers are on the way. They will be bringing in relief supplies to those hard-hit areas where they are so desperately needed. DeMarco?
Elaine, we are seeing your reports, and the devastation is surreal. You spent time on the main artery linking the Keys together, U.S. Route 1. What are you seeing now?
So it's interesting, DeMarco. We first came in, even as the hurricane force winds were still buffeting this area. This was late last night. It was pitch black because the power was out here. And I have to tell you, it was a little bit of an obstacle course to try and navigate around the downed trees. We had to keep an eye out for downed power lines. Anything that you could imagine that could be swept up by a wave and deposited where it shouldn't be, we saw that kind of thing. And then by daylight, early this morning, when we were headed to our live shot, what we saw is things like furniture. We saw things like boats in the middle of the median. All of these were just really powerful examples of how strong that storm surge was. And you can imagine what the force of that kind of water would do to anyone that would have been standing in its way, or a home with possessions inside. All of those would have been destroyed. I
got to tell you, living in Miami for some time, it's kind of tough just to see those pictures there. What are you hearing from National Guard members in the Florida Keys?
So it's interesting. We actually ran into, just by chance, a group of National Guard members who were making their way over to Marathon. If you were to look at a map of the Florida Keys, where we are right now, as we listen to cleanup there from a resident, is folks who hunker down actually are trying to now begin that very laborious process of cleaning up. We are basically a good distance, about an hour or so south of, an hour or so north, rather, of Marathon. That is where there's an airport. They're going to try and get these C-130 cargo planes into that airport, but the problem is there's so much debris that is littering this runway, so they have to get that clear. And so these Guard members that we just happened to run into, their mission was basically to clean up the runway, and they have a very desperate kind of situation now, because as we've reported, you've got people who don't have any kind of water, power, no sanitation sewer system working, and so the top emergency management official here very early called this a humanitarian crisis. That was yesterday, even before the hurricane had fully left the Keys, because of the fact that so many people had ignored the evacuation order and decided to remain in the Keys. Those folks now are dealing with the after effects of not having any of those basic necessities like water, like power.
And our hearts go out to all of the people affected by the storm in that area. The cleanup process is going to take some time. Elaine Quijano reporting. Elaine, thank you.
You're welcome.